with CrispySkates. And tonight we are picking up where we left off with the Wind in the Willows. Once he looked back and saw that the barge had run aground on the other side of the canal. The barge woman was gesticulating wildly, shouting, "Stop, stop, stop! I've heard that song before," said the toad, laughing, as he continued to spur his steed onward its wild career. The barge horse was not capable of any sustained effort, and its gallop soon subsided into a trot, and its trot into an easy walk. But Toad was quite contented with this, knowing that he, at any rate, was moving, and the barge was not. He quite recovered his temper, and now that he had done something that he had thought very clever, he was satisfied to jog along quietly in the sun, steering his horse along by the ways and bridle paths, and trying to forget how very long it was since he had had a square meal until the canal had been left very far behind him. He had traveled some miles, his horse and he felt drowsy and not hot sunshine. When the horse stopped, lowered his head, he began to nibble the grass. The toad, waking up, just saved himself from falling off by an effort. He looked about him and found he was on a wide common dotted with patches of gorse and bramble far as he could see. Near him stood dingy gypsy caravan, and beside it man was sitting on a bucket turned upside down, very busy smoking and staring into the wild world. A fire of sticks was burning near. By the fire hung an iron pot, and out of the pot came forth bubbles and gurglings and vague, suggestive steaminess. Also smells, warm, rich, and varied smells that twinged and twisted and writhed themselves at last into complete, voluptuous, perfect smell that seemed like the very soul of nature, appearing to her children, a goddess, a mother of solace and comfort. Toad now knew well that he had not been really hungry before. That he had felt earlier that day had been mere trifling qualm. This was the real thing at last, and no mistake, as it would have to be dealt with speedily too, or there would be trouble for somebody or something. He looked the gypsy over carefully, wondering vaguely whether it would be easier to fight him or cajole him. So there he sat and sniffed and looked at the gypsy, and the gypsy sat and smoked and looked at him. Presently the gypsy took his pipe out of his mouth and remarked in careless way, "Want to tell something that horse is of yours?" Toad, completely taken back. He did not know that gypsies were very fond of horse stealing, and never missed an opportunity, and he had not reflected that the caravans were always on the move and took a deal of drawing. It had not occurred to him to turn the horse into cash, but Gypsy's suggestion seemed smooth the way towards the two things he wanted so badly: ready money and solid breakfast. "What?" he said. "Me sell this beautiful young horse of mine? Huh, no, it's not for sale. It's out of the question. Who's going to take the washing home to my customers every week? Besides, I'm not too fond of him. He simply dotes on me. Try the lovely donkey, suggested the gypsy. Some people you don't seem to see, continued the toad, that this fine horse of mine is a cut above you all other. He's a blood horse, he is, partly, not part, you see, of course, another part. And he's been prize hackney too, in his time. That was time before you knew. But you can still tell him at a glance that you understand anything about horses. Hello, Faxolo. Faxolo. This is The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. And also, there's going to be a new channel that I'm going to share you guys about here in a little bit. His name is Cause Jokes 30-314. Cause under Jokes. I put it on my channel, but we'll keep reading. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say hi. I'll shut up. All at the same time, how might you be disposed to offer me this beautiful young horse of mine? The gypsy the horse over, then looked over the toad with equal care, and looked at the horse again. Shilling a leg, he said briefly, and turned away, continuing to smoke and stare the wide world of countenance. A shilling a leg, cried Toad. If you please, I must take a little time to work that out and just see what it is to. He climbed down off his horse and left it to gaze, and sat down by the gypsy and did some sums on his finger, and at last said, "A shilling a leg. Why, that comes to exactly 4 shillings. And no more. Oh, no, I could not think of accepting 4 shillings for this beautiful young horse of mine." "Well," said the gypsy, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make it 5 shillings. That's 3 and 6 pence more than the animal's worth, and that's my last word." Then Toad sat and pondered long and deeply, for he was hungry and quite penniless, and still some way he knew somehow far from home, and the enemies might be still looking at him. So, to one in such a situation, 5 shillings may be, well, very appear large sum of money. On the other hand, it did not seem very much to get for a horse. But then again, the horse hadn't cost him anything, so whatever he got was clearly profit. At last he said firmly, "Look here, gypsy, I tell you what we'll do, and this is my last word. You shall hand me over 6 shillings and 6 pence, cash down, and further, in addition thereto, you shall give me as much breakfast as I can possibly eat at one sitting, of course, out of that iron pot of yours that keeps sending forth such delicious, exciting smells. In return, I will make it over to you my spirited young horse with what beautiful harness and trappings that are on him, freely thrown in. If that's not good enough for you, say so, and I'll be getting on. I know a man here wanted a horse of mine for years." The gypsy grumbled frightfully and declared if he did a few more deals of sort, he'd be ruined. But in the end, he lunged a dirty canvas bag out of the depths of his trouser pocket and counted out 6 shillings and 6 pence into Toad's paw. Then he disappeared into the caravan for an instant and returned an iron plate and a knife, a fork, and a spoon. He tilted up the pot, and glorious steam of hot, rich, gurgled stew into a plate. It was indeed the most beautiful stew in the world, being made of partridges and pheasants and chickens and hares and rabbits and peahens and guinea fowls and one or two things. Toad took a plate of on his lap, almost crying, and stuffed and stuffed and stuffed and kept asking for more. And the gypsy grudged at him and thought that he had never eaten so good of a breakfast in all of his life. When Toad had taken as much stew on board as he thought he could possibly hold, he got up and said goodbye to the gypsy and took an affectionate farewell of the horse. And the gypsy, who knew the riverside very well, gave him directions which way to go, and he set forth travels again in the best possible spirits. He was indeed a very different Toad from the animal of an hour ago. The sun was shining brightly, his wet clothes were quite dry again, and he had money in his pocket once more. He was nearing home and friends and safety, and most best of all, he had a substantial meal, a hot and nourishing, and felt big and strong and careless and self-confident. All right, Crispy Cats, we're going to end it right there. I hope you have a lovely evening. Facts LOL, thanks for stopping by. Until tomorrow night. Oh, you guys, there's going to be a new channel, and his name, or her name, is a cat, actually, Whiskers, called Cause Jokes under 30-314. He's going to change his channel name, but he's having a premiere soon. But y'all, he knows what he's doing because I've talked to him. He's not like a first-time YouTuber. So watch out. I think it's going to be bomb. I'm really excited. So until tomorrow night, you guys, keep it crispy. Sweet dreams.